Aipac is in the lineup again today, bragging about funding Black, Hispanic, and Asian caucuses. Watch this video.
Well, I appreciate the relationship that I've had with Aipac from the very beginning of my congressional journey.
The pro-Israel community fully embraced me.
Aipac played a very important role in my political campaign. I think it really helped it take off.
Thank you to everyone at Aipac for their deep and long-standing friendship. It means a lot to me.
The words will come to me, and maybe S&T can help me articulate why that video, what it was attempting to do, grossed me out. But let me give you the details. Members of the Congressional Black Caucus, including Hakeem Jeffries, Shontel Brown, Wesley Bell, were among many featured in this Aipac ad. Previously covered how Hakeem Jeffries was funneling Aipac money to candidates. That's what you did, Hakeem. Aipac and the CBC, Congressional Black Caucus, longstanding core of lawmakers dedicated to safeguarding civil rights, known as the conscience of Congress, has not issued a formal declaration condemning Israel. It hasn't even produced a statement calling for a ceasefire. The CBC's silence is not accidental. You know why? Because more than half of its current 61 members have been endorsed or funded by the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, powerful U.S. lobbying arm for Israel's agenda. Let's go to 2023-24, the election cycle alone. Aipac endorsed 26 of the caucus's members, raising $4.6 million for them, another $3.5 million for Black Democratic candidates. By accepting Aipac's endorsements and money, CBC members are, well, to use a biblical term, a phrase, selling their birthright for a mess of pottage. Aipac readily sets aside the political concerns of the CBC and its efforts, spending lavishly on campaigns for GOP members of Congress, targeting measures on racial equality, which totaled more than $17 million in the late 2023-24 cycle. The Nation with the reporting. Aipac, together with its two political action committees, Aipac PAC and United Democracy Project, has one purpose: defending Israel at all costs. We support candidates based on one criteria: their commitment to strengthening the U.S.-Israel relationship. Aipac spokesperson Marshall Whitman telling Politico in 2024. So I guess you could be all the way devilish, but as long as you support, without deviation apparently, what Israel's doing, good chance they'll fund you. Big time. They'll fund you. Single issue litmus test means the CBC is now beholden to a group that is far more concerned with the state of Israel than it is with the caucus's core mission: the conscience of Congress. This is not what it said. CBC's resulting silence not only damages its credibility, but also jeopardizes its ability to advocate for the interests of Black Americans, many of whom recognize a campaign to eliminate a group of people. One glaring example of this clash of interests is Aipac's targeting of Black lawmakers such as Cori Bush of Missouri and Jamal Bowman lost her seat in 2024 to Wesley Bell, we should say, at Bush, for speaking out against Israel's crimes against humanity. That was the crime, saying this isn't right. Also went after, now this has got me rolling up my sleeves, and I know she doesn't want violence in her name, and I'm not trying to say I'm advocating for it, but this really ticks me off. Because you know who else they went after? You know the name, Nina Turner. 2021 cycle, DMFI PAC spent just under $2 million on ads supporting Chantel Brown and attacking Nina Turner. AIPAC aligned pro-Israel America PAC gave Brown's campaign more than $500,000. Well, because she was so great and they believed everything that she said? Her campaign? Her platform? No. Brown's reelection campaign was again backed by AIPAC and DMFI, which is funded by $2 million from an oil and gas heir, along with a super PAC funded by a cryptocurrency billionaire. United Democracy Project, an AIPAC political action committee, spent more than $280,000 on the race, including more than $198,000 on ads attacking Senator Turner. The MFI PAC spent more than $1 million on the race, including more than $312,000 on ads against our Nina Turner. And let's not forget Jamal Bowman. The record's clear there too. 2023-24 election cycle, AIPAC spent $100 million. Much of it raised from Republican mega donors targeting Democrats it deemed hostile to Israel. That included an unprecedented outlay of $15 million in a single House race by the group in its successful primary challenge against Bowman. How dare he speak out against what Israel and Netanyahu are doing? That speech debating was deemed a red line. He was replaced on the Democratic ticket by the AIPAC-endorsed former Westchester County Executive George Latimer, a white candidate with a record of racist remarks. Back to that one issue, that litmus test, you can be kind of lousy in a lot of other ways, but as long as you back without deviation what Israel's doing, you get a boatload of money and the backing. The group also targeted Black Democratic lawmakers like Pennsylvania Representative Summer Lee, who spoke out against Israel's occupation of the West Bank and Gaza. Lee survived that AIPAC offensive, but now, like other congressional critics of Israel, she has to be prepared for AIPAC-funded primary challenges each time she runs for re-election. And see, next time, I'm sure internally, they're saying, we're going to get it right this time. They've shown no matter how much money we have to spend, we'll do it. We should have done more last time to get rid of Miss Lee. Pro-Israel groups spent millions to defeat other Black members of Congress, including Bush and Lee, as well as Maryland Representative Donna Edwards. Just watch her doing some commentary this morning. She has plenty of time now, thanks to AIPAC. These CBC members all championed Medicare for all, expanded affordable housing, other initiatives that would directly benefit Black communities. Lee is the only CBC member in that cohort of Israel critics who is still in office. So, doing what they can to wipe out any kind of debate on what Israel's doing. Spending whatever they have to spend to shut you up and shut you down. And not just Jamal Bowman, or Bush, or our Senator Nina Turner, but the people they represented. The very people they represented. That's who's being told to shut up and sit down when these fearless leaders said, no, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to speak my truth. We can debate it, because I've never seen you, Senator, ever shy away from a real, honest debate. I've heard you, although I can't recall a single time, because, I think you're always right, acknowledge somebody else's point, that perhaps wasn't your original thought. But you're not allowed to do that when it comes to Israel, AIPAC. The Black Caucus has been captured. What say you?
No, that's it, Sharon. They have been absolutely captured. They are so far from the founding. 13 Black members of Congress in 1971 founded the Congressional Black Caucus. Luminaries such as Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm was among that group, the first Black woman to run on a major ticket who ran for president of these United States of America in 1972. And people right in my own backyard, like the great Congressman Louis Stokes, both of them are in the ancestral plane right now. And they would probably be rolling over in their grave if they knew that the CBC has sold out in this way. And Sharon, there's something that was said that really hit me when they founded this thing. The thrust of our elections was that many Black people around America who have formerly been unrepresented now felt that the 9 Black members of the House owed them the obligation of also affording them representation in the House. This was Representative Louis Stokes speaking at the time, and he said, in addition to representing our individual districts, we had to assume the onerous burden of acting as congressmen at large for unrepresented people around America. So at the time it was 9, and then the 13 in 1971 came together. But you see where Congressman Louis Stokes was going, that they understood that their mandate, Black people certainly, and by extension, unrepresented, underrepresented people at large depended on those Black elected officials in particular to be the moral consciousness. And how far have they fallen from 1971 to this moment to be bought and sold, not only by the Israel First lobby, but they are bought and sold by other interest groups that do not serve the interests of the individual constituencies that they represent. And when I looked at that commercial, it caused me to just, all kinds of emotions started to bubble up to see Chantel Brown in that commercial. Absolutely right. Heretofore in the state of Ohio, she has received more Israel First money than any other elected member in my home state combined. And for all intents and purposes, she really just got there when you think of how long other people have been there. For her to have amassed over $6 million worth of Israel First money. When those groups said, and they said this to me personally, when I was running in a special election in 21, they said that there was no domestic difference, virtually no difference between Chantel Brown and myself on domestic issues. The difference that they were concerned about was on the state of Israel. And that is all that they cared about. And that is what they were fighting for, period. So it didn't matter to them that one of every 2 children in my home state go to bed hungry at night. It didn't matter to them about funding for the Cleveland schools or lifting up small businesses or helping to abate lead or taking care of the quality of life of the people of Ohio 11. They wanted to elect a puppet that would do their bidding over the bidding of the people who elected them. Sharon Reed, in my mind, that doesn't make sense because I'm running to represent the interests of the people in Ohio 11, the people of the great state of Ohio, and by extension, just as those original Black Caucus members felt, unrepresented and underrepresented people across the United States of America. And I was told that all they cared about, to your face, they'll tell you to your face. And to see Wesley Bell in there, I'm so glad that my sister, Congresswoman Cori Bush, is back in that fight to regain the people's seat so that she can stand up for the people. Hakeem Jeffries, Leader Jeffries, who probably will be the Speaker of the House. And while people are going to be tiptoeing through the tulips, celebrating the first Black Speaker of the House, that is of no regard when you have the first Black Speaker of the House who has sold out to foreign interests over the interests of even the people in his home state, in his home district. And then the Black Caucus has a particular mandate that all of these members are failing. The overwhelming majority of them are failing. So I'm really glad. And Bowman, and Sharon, I mean, we could spend the rest of the show talking about this, but what I want our TYT and Indisputable family to understand that this is bigger than me. This is bigger than Hakeem Jeffries. This is bigger than Chantel Brown. This is bigger than Wesley Bell. This is bigger than all of these sellout folks. What this is about is the disruption and the corruption of democracy, meaning that people in the individual districts where this type of dark money, whether it's Aipac money, whether it's Rifle Association money, whether it's Big Pharma money, name your dark money group, they come in and corrupt the process to such an extent that the voters, and you said this, Sharon, you said it differently, that the voters of those districts lose their ability to be able to make a decision unabetted by all the lies that they propagate and put in. And as one of my colleagues said, if your only claim to fame is the only way you could win a congressional seat is because dark money came in and put you there, did you really win the seat? And are you really standing up for the people? And in the face of genocide, in the face of what is happening to Lebanon right now and other places all across this country, the fact that the Congressional Black Caucus, on top of the other, the Asian Caucus, the Hispanic, they bragging about it because they know they own these people. And they not afraid to brag about it. But the people who are being hurt are the people in these districts who need somebody who will put them first instead of a foreign interest. And I would be saying this if it was Saudi Arabia, if it was any other nation, if it was Germany, whoever. If it's not the United States of America, why am I answering to you solely on, Sharon? And I'm only giving the tip of the iceberg, but Hakeem Jeffries was in that commercial, Chantel Brown, Glenn Ivey. I saw a glimpse of Fetterman, God help us, Peter Aguilar, Wesley Bell, all of these people, and so many more, all of those caucuses, the Black Caucus, the Hispanic Caucus, the Asian Caucus, bought and sold, and the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Let me say a word or two about you. That you would allow members who are bought and sold by any of these dark money special interest groups to be a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. You need to be ashamed.
You're right.
It's sick.
It's a whole show, and I'm game if you are. Look, what you laid out beautifully is to folks at home, and what the senator's also saying is it's not even your fault. A whispering, disgusting, out loud, money-fueled campaign to make sure you don't even realize you've been disenfranchised. We can talk about ICE being placed at polling places to keep people out. All that's relevant. But this is more devious, perhaps. You don't even know what they're doing. And for Miss Brown and others who we saw in that video, was it worth it? You are walking through your communities looking at your mirror image, and you are a stranger. You have disenfranchised and been bought and paid for. Your own people. Not only are you not protecting the people's house, Hakeem Jeffries, I'm so ashamed. You're not even protecting your own house. You may think you have escaped and you're on the other side of it and you're about to become the first, as you said, speaker of color. Are you?
Right.
Because it looks like you're a figurehead. I had a co-anchor once, Senator, who I love to this day, brother. And I used to hate it when he would say, all kinfolk ain't skin. I don't know why. I hated to say it. But I'm sorry. You did this on the inside.
That's right.
You helped, you're in the big house selling the rest of us in the fields out. That's nothing to be proud of. I am disgusted. And you're right. The great late Congressman Stokes would be and is turning over. I want him to turn over. I don't want him to see. I don't want him to be able to look up and see what they're doing up here.
Come on.
Us.
Come on. Yeah.
Disgusted.
Disgusting.
I'm just disgusted.
Jeffries actually came, Sharon, and campaigned against me, in my race. Here it is, a solidly Democratic seat. He came to campaign against me. His super PAC poured money in. And as we now know, AIPAC knows that they are not, that their reputation, that Democratic voters in particular have a very bad image of AIPAC. They're awake now in ways that they were not in 21 and 22. My race was the canary in the coal mine, and it was the playbook that they used to go after Congressman Bowman and to go after Congresswoman Bush, and even before they got to them, to go after Congresswoman Summer Lee. But what Congresswoman Summer Lee and her team had, they had what happened to me months earlier. So they had time to adapt and to catch up and to really change things along the way. So they couldn't get her. Thank God that they couldn't get her. And it was all over the media, them bragging about what they did to me in Ohio 11, that they were going to duplicate it. I know you do, duplicate it all across the country. And that is exactly what they have done. But I want to say to our viewers, and I want to say clearly to the American people, that if you truly believe in America first, that we should not allow any foreign government to control our elected officials. It's bad enough that they controlled by big pharma and other unspecial interests, and not your special interests. But for the love of God, Black Jesus with sandals on, we absolutely should not let an entity that represents a foreign government control our elected officials. And it happens on the Democratic side, and it also happens on the Republican side. I think one of the Congress members, and I think it was Congressman Massey, and if I have it wrong, one of the viewers, let me know, who said that AIPAC assigns somebody to each member. And he went on to say, he said, at least that happens on the Republican side. He said, I'm not sure what happens on the Democratic side, but they assign people to make sure they got you in check. We must have campaign finance reform in the United States of America. That is the only way to beat this back. We have got to pack the court, the Supreme Court of the United States of America, because the United States Supreme Court has been captured too, by about $580 million, totally captured. And so if Democrats are serious about putting this democracy back in the hands of the people, they need to go ahead and fight fire with fire and pack the courts. President Biden had the opportunity to do that, and he refused to do it. So Sharon Reed, the amazing Sharon Reed, we gonna see as Democrats are when they get the power back in the House and the Senate. Are they gonna play games to keep blaming President Donald J. Trump, who's responsible for his actions and his inactions and also his viciousness? Are they going to play with the power, or are they going to use it? Are they going to stand up for the American people, or are they going to continue to stand up for their own donors? We're going to see what happens, because they're going to win one of those chambers back. They might even win two, because now a lot of the data is saying that they are within striking distance of winning the United States Senate. So Sharon Reed, I want to see what they're going to do on behalf of the people instead of their own donors.
We'll be watching. And guess what? We can have our own litmus test too.
Ooh, yes, we can.
I won't vote for anyone who doesn't want to take back this country from this foreign power. That means AIPAC. If you want this dark money to continue, then you are saying that you want us to continue to be captured by a foreign power. That is what's going on here.
Yes.
And no, you don't get my vote if you want to just assume power and act like things are just, we'll just go back to the way they were. We can never go back to the way they were. And by the way, that wasn't good enough. Finish the job. Don't just win. Finish the job. We love you, S&T. We're going to keep watching this story. As you said, it's now in the consciousness of America on both sides of the aisle.
It is.
They weren't banking on that. See, you went too far. They weren't banking on that.
That's right. And they tried to kill me. I mean, they lied on me. They said they sent out flyers saying that I was not for Medicare for all or increasing the minimum wage. I mean, just flat out lie, not even distortions. They use colorism, as you and I have talked about a lot. You listen to my pain points on that. And, we talk a lot about anti-Black racism, which is a real thing. They are particularly anti-Black and racist. So when people talk about anti-Semitism, which I'm not for any bigotry or hatred towards any group of people, I'll be the first one to stand up and have. We also need to talk about anti-Blackness and what these Israel First groups have really shown in particular. Now, they'll go after any most progressives, but they go after Black progressives with a particular venom that I call anti-Black. I'm not the only one, but it's anti-Black racism, and it seems to be okay and accepted because they're coming after Black people and Black constituencies, and we're disposable. But the other point I wanted to make is I just want to shout out people like you, people like Dr. Richey, people like Jink, and others on TYT. Because I'm going to tell you something, TYT was right by my side in 21, in 22, even after my run with Senator Bernie Sanders in 2020. Jink was right there with me every single step of the way. The TYT family, so many people in the TYT family on this network. And that's why we need independent media, y'all. So I want y'all to go tap a friend or a friend of me and tell them to go ahead and get a subscribe and get a membership for TYT, because we need strong media like this who's going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God, who will be that fourth rail that we need. It's too often these mainstream media, they capitulate to power, but you won't see that on TYT. We're going to give it to you and you let you make your own decision. But on a personal note, I had to thank, as I often do, my TYT family. For the first time, Jink was telling me there was a commercial made when I was running. And God, I think it was, I forget, it's one of our TYT folks who for the first time, they had the viewers make a congressional commercial for me. And it was something of beauty. So for as long as I live, I will never forget how TYT and individuals were right by my side. Many of the viewers on this particular show and also on this network standing up for what is just right and good. It wasn't necessarily about me. It was about what I stand for. I'm a humanitarian. I believe in justice, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all people.
And
that
you
means
lived your life that way out loud. I'm going to say this. You're right about independent media and what's necessary, because the truth, look, we're overtaxed, overburdened, we're systemically discriminated against. Oh, there's so much going on right now that a clear message has to break through. And what we got today in this one powerful chronicling is the truth told by you. And I want to say this, and then we'll go to break. For all the nastiness, vileness, venom thrown your way, look at you right here before us, still telling the truth. And that to me is beautiful. It's beautiful.
By the grace of Almighty God, Sharon. Jordan led that effort for the first time ever. A viewer created commercial for me when I was running for Congress. I'll forever remember. But Sharon, it's by the grace of an Almighty God. You know, there's a scripture in the Christian Bible is that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. The scripture didn't say that it wouldn't form. It just said that it wouldn't prosper. And I just thank God, you know, for my family, for friends, for people who love me, who lifted me, people finally seeing the truth. A lot of times people like me are ahead of our time. And I know very much the pain points were not for naught. That you have people like Congresswoman Cori Bush coming back for that seat for the people. Amen. You have a group out there called Reject Aipac, who that highlights and chronicles all the elected officials that take that money. Reject Big Oil, all of that. I mean, people's eyes are more open today, Sharon, than it was in 21 and 22. And although these things were not there to help me win that race, where I was 30 points ahead in that special election in 2021. And I will never say that it did not hurt, that it did not sting, that it was not a gut-wrenching thing to go through for your humanity to be questioned, to look in the mirror and question who you are, to feel like you had to grovel to a group that was never going to change their mind. Hindsight being 2020 and my team believing that they were doing the right thing, that I have to prove. I look back on that, Sharon, I had absolutely nothing to prove because I did nothing wrong. My only sin was to say that the Palestinian people deserve to be able to pursue life, liberty, and happiness just as the Israeli people do, just like people who live in the Congo, people in Haiti, people all over the world deserve to be able to pursue life, liberty, happiness. Our sisters and brothers in Lebanon that are being bombed, you know, and you got these people, Sharon, who call themselves Christians, or even Muslims for that matter, any religion. If you have a heartbeat and you believe in a higher power and you think it's okay for any group of people to indiscriminately, with impunity, bomb and kill other people, if we were not a hegemon nation, it could be us. So I'm not backing down, Sharon. I didn't back down even with the threats. I mean, I was threatened. They told me, we're going to do everything we can to stop you from getting that seat. And my only sin was to see the humanity of the Palestinian people. Number one, this is not in order of importance necessarily. And number two, to say that Nina Turner is unbossed in the tradition of Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm. And number three, understanding that I was being elected to serve the constituents of Ohio 11, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, and that I was not going to sell out for a seat. I don't sell out for a seat and 30 pieces of silver. That was my crime.
I done fell out just listening to you. Okay. Last three things. They tried to break you and they couldn't. Okay. I will tell folks I reach out to you privately because I can't push, but I'm begging for another run. And the last thing is thank you for dissecting that particular scripture, because it means my ex will eventually get his. So thank you, Senator Turner, for that. Because I was focused on the first part, you know what I mean? And you kind of broke it down. It made me say,
mine too.
Okay, you're going to get yours because you keep going and I'm just minding my business over here. But there you go, again.